Let's talk about briefly, obviously, the abandoned game was Bournemouth 1, Luton 1, when it was abandoned just after 60 minutes. Luton, we're happy they went up. You know this little Alfie Doherty, is he going to be one of those problems where we pronounce him unlike Doherty and never pronounce it right?
Alfie Doughty.
Yeah. He's a good player, you know. I think if Luton go down, I think there'll be plenty of Premier League clubs that will be looking at him.
He's also got the benefit, he can obviously play wing back on either side.
Yeah, I think he's a good young player, to be honest. He popped up with an assist here. Obviously, the game's abandoned now, so it's...
Yeah, and look, as I said near the start, like FPL will make their decision based on what obviously the Premier League do, and we'll just accept it for whatever it is, I think. Just a couple of notes on the game. Alex Scott was an unused substitute, which is
back again.
Really good news for Bournemouth because we weren't expecting him to be back so soon. Now, obviously, they've been managing really well with obviously Lewis Cook and Ryan Christie in a deeper role. So Scott, this time they can probably ease him in and not feel like they're rushing it because the rest of the team's playing quite well. Obviously, bear in mind for the likes of Semenyo, who's obviously going to go to AFCON soon. For Luton, obviously, look, whatever happens with Tom Lockyer, it's quite clear he's not going to play football for a long time, even if he does play football again, and that's going to be a real loss to them defensively, unfortunately. Obviously, what happens with the game as well also has an impact on Marvellous Nakamba, because obviously if the game is just avoided and going to be played again another date, then Nakamba will be suspended for Newcastle this weekend.
Oh, wow, okay.
So there's a couple of issues for them defensively going into that game at the weekend. I don't really feel like there's too much point talking about it much more, to be very honest. I mean, Solanke is still gettable, I think, this week for people who aren't on. And obviously, look, if the game is voided, then there's going to be a double game week at some point. Quite clearly, it won't be in the next couple of weeks because of the schedule, but it could be, you know, as early as sort of game week 21, 22. It could be anywhere, right? Neither of them got any cup other than FA Cup, no kind of Carabao Cup commitments, no European commitments. So it's a go anywhere, really. The Solanke 6 literally makes no difference to me because if it's voided and he gets no points, I've got Gabriel 6 instead. So literally makes no difference to me unless they decide to tag on the bonus points onto the game, which I think would probably only be something that would happen under the circumstance where the result was confirmed and there was no intention to replay any more of the game. I don't foresee that being the solution. I think the most likely solution here is that they void the game and you don't get the points. Auto subs will go in. Solanke and others will have a double game week some point soon, and the game will be replayed in its entirety.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't.
That's what I suspect will happen.
I wasn't keeping track. I just saw. I checked in at like 4:45, 5 o'clock to the results, and I saw match abandoned. And my initial assumption straight away was like floodlights or some crap like that. Went on to the BBC, had a look around. Right, okay, saw his collapse. I think there was not even any question in my mind about what would happen. I thought if the game's void and abandoned, then it just put a line through it, and sometimes it happens. And it's no different to a cold Wednesday night in Burnley when the snow comes down and the whole game has to be abandoned. What are you going to do in that situation?
Yeah, look, it's been a long time since...
It's sad, but...
Of course, no, it's a long time since we've had a Premier League game abandoned that's played that amount of time.
A minute, understand.
Yeah, like over an hour is a significant period. So under that circumstance, there is a case to say, could they go, right, shake hands on the draw, you all happy with that? And to be honest, maybe both teams would, but I suspect it would be replayed in its entirety. In terms of FPL not making their decision yet on what they're doing with the points, well, they've got to wait on something from the Premier League, haven't they?
Imagine what if they said they're going to play tomorrow?
Well, the other option is, which is quite common in obviously overseas countries, but it's never happened here in the top level, is obviously just to finish the game, go back and play the last half hour or whatever. So
I was thinking even midweek this week, they've got Carabao Cup. That game, Bournemouth-Luton's not going to be televised. So, but I guess they don't give the fans time to go back to... They need to give the fans time.
I would imagine... Right? I would be surprised. All the fans who went would probably... It would be like your tickets are valid probably for whenever the game's replayed, I should imagine. So look, FPL can't make a decision till the Premier League make their decision. Obviously, if the Premier League haven't made a decision by Wednesday, then FPL will have to make their own decision. But I imagine, to be honest, by the time this goes out, I wouldn't be surprised if the Premier League have said what's going to happen with the fixture. And I don't suppose you'll get this is the date the game's going to be replayed. If that's the case, it will be the result doesn't stand, the game's going to be replayed whenever. We must give a shout out to the people that looked after Tom Lockyer from the staff at Bournemouth and Luton. I think anyone who's listened to me talk about the Fabrice Mwamba situation in the past when I was there will know how I feel about it. I think there was a particular panic for a lot of people because Tom Lockyer had obviously collapsed at the Championship playoff final as well. I think made it a little bit worse in terms of people's worry and stuff.
It's clearly an ongoing problem that needs to get addressed.
You know what? There's every chance that he may not play football again, but the most important thing seems to be that he's in a stable condition and recovering. My sympathy goes out to all the Bournemouth and Luton fans who are at the game as well, because that's a terrible experience, to stand there, wait, not have the information, etc. As I said, I went through it in 2012, so if anybody was at the game and wants to reach out about it, please do so.